take two, because I realized when I was editing this video the first time, the phone ran out of memory and we lost half the video. So, Priest, Rocka Rolla, 50th anniversary. And I went to KK's Priest concert in Ridgefield, Connecticut this week, so it's a big Priest week for me. Let's dive into 50th anniversary remix, remaster of Rocka Rolla. Of course, I've got a bunch of originals. They slipped and fell all over the floor. It came out a million times, going back through it, you all know it. How would you even have stumbled onto this video if you're not thinking about it? Rocka Rolla, first album by Priest. They said they didn't like it. It didn't sound right. They've been complaining about it for years. Saw that in KK's book. Rob Halford said it a million times. They didn't have the rights to it because they split and went to Columbia Records. And it's been reissued a million times, bunch of different covers. I got one. It's called Genocide. It's the first two albums, Net and Sad Wings, together. And this was my original copy of it. Then they also redid it again. It's Hero Hero. They took the first two albums again. Not all the songs are there, but when this originally got released in the early 80s, they did a remix, but most of the CDs don't have the remix. They just got the original versions and the cool-ass cover. And Rocka Rolla got re-released again a couple of times with a cool cover with a demon holding missiles and stuff like that. I gotta have that for my collection. I don't have it, but Gull Records, the same people, just keep punching out more and more albums. Like, I put out the best of Judas Priest, which is like a short one-disc version of both of the albums put together. So I'm quite familiar with this album, but it's not that high on my favorites list. It's all right. I like it. It doesn't really fit in with the rest of the discography, but I like weird first albums by all my favorite bands. Like Queen's first album sounds nothing like the rest of Queen. Genesis' first two albums. The first one, can you call that Genesis? But the second one, Trespass, sounds sort of like Genesis, but with no Phil Collins. Who else is there? Yes, they actually sound like Yes, but all the songs are like actual, like short, like 3-minute songs instead of like way long. Deep Purple's first album sounds nothing like the rest of Deep Purple, except for Hush. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. As far as them remixing it, I'm gonna say, unfairly, I was a little disappointed. My expectations were maybe like way too high, way too different. They were saying on, like, when it came out, Ian Hill's, oh yeah, it's coming out next week. And strangely enough, it actually came out like a week later. Saw that on like Blabbermouth, and they said, oh, Tom Allom's doing it, the guy who produced all the 80s stuff and the last couple albums. And they said, oh, we're using modern technology and this. So I'm thinking, it's like, oh, it's going to be like the Black Sabbath Forbidden album, where they really deconstructed that thing and put it back together, and they gave it like more modern sounding, like Tony Iommi's more modern sounding guitar. They made the album sound like it just came out instead of it coming out in the 90s. So I kind of maybe unfairly thought they were going to do that on this. When I first heard it, it was on, the physical copy hasn't come out. It's going to come out a couple weeks or months, I think. Did I remember right? November? Whatever, we'll put that right there. There you go. So it was on YouTube. I couldn't wait. I found it like last Friday when it came out, and I went straight to the Rocka Rolla song, because that's the most, I've heard that song a billion times. The first remix on the Hero Hero, I wasn't that blown away, but it sounds like they just like stereo separation, if you're into like using like plugins on like music software. Sounded just like that, just made it sound a little bigger. This, if I wasn't like overly familiar with the song, I wouldn't even have noticed they did. I just would have thought it was like a better remaster or something, because it just sounded a little louder. Rob Halford's vocals is a little more prominent. The drums sounded a little bit bigger. I was like, oh, I thought all their amplifiers, I always, like, the criticism of me is that they all sounded like practice amps, that like the little one sitting in my room next to my bed. So I was kind of disappointed, but I got like a little deeper into the album. Heard like Run of the Mill. I thought Run of the Mill sounded really good. It's a song I never really like paid that much. One for the Road I liked a lot better. Winter, Deep Freeze, and Winter Retreat, you're still skipping those songs, but the weird like guitar effects made me think. I never looked this up. Who did like the guitar effects on Deep Freeze? Was that KK or was that Glenn? I'm thinking it was probably KK in the beginning, because it's the beginning of Priest, and he was more prominent guitarist because Glenn was brand new. But like the quieter stuff on the album, it sounded better, even though it still sounded like when they're playing clean, doing like a little pregio kind of stuff. The quiet parts of the album, like I thought it sounded better, but it didn't sound like a fundamentally different album. The way they always talked about it, I thought they were gonna like make this a fundamentally different album, like almost like a re-recording of it, because they've been playing, not on this current tour, but like maybe like 2 years ago. I looked up, like 2 years ago they were playing actual Rocka Rolla in live. So I was like, yeah, it's good, but not blown away. And if you're gonna buy a copy of this, it's the definitive copy to buy. It sounds the best, but not like enough to blow you away and change like your whole outlook on it, like Forbidden did. Pink Floyd like deconstructed Momentary Lapse of Reason. They like Nick Mason, instead of using like studio drummers and drum machines or whatever they had, they actually like redid that and added in, like, they found outtakes of Rick Wright and threw that in there. I actually prefer the original version better. I like the 80s-ness of the original version of that, and they also like redid Animals. It was like, why bother? That didn't make sense to do that unless you're like completely redoing it. Like an album like this, which they were always disappointed by, is like, go for it, redo it. So as far as a remix is alright. It's the best version of it, but it's not what I was totally expecting. And my car, I'm in a park and everybody's sitting here looking at me. I don't care. We're going into it. But I'm going to stop. Hopefully you don't run out of space in my phone. Alright, the phone got more space on it. I deleted a few apps. And plus, like, Mike, why are you wearing a Yankee hat? I thought you were like a Red Sox fan or like a Mets fan. You're like all over the place. Well, they hand this out to you at the DMV, and I moved to New York, so boom, they give me the hat. But I love hats. So this is the hat. You gotta have this hat. You also gotta have a Dodger hat. I got the Dodger hat too. Let's get into KK's Priest concert. Let's call it the Ripper concert, because Ripper friggin' ruled. Never got to see him live. Never got to see that version of Priest live. 20 plus years later, finally got to see it. Accept opened. I am not familiar with their work at all, other than like Balls to the Wall, which everybody is, but like talking metal with people, talking with other metal fans for years and years and years. Nobody ever once mentioned Accept. They're not that big, but like the people at this little place called the Ridgefield Playhouse. It's over in Connecticut. It's like a small movie theater with a balcony, basically. I went there one time before to see Blackmore's Night, and I ain't sitting in the balcony again, because like one guy was just leaning forward and blocked like the entire stage. So I tried to avoid like balcony seats. It's on the floor. I was only about 25 feet from the stage. When I was ordering tickets, I was going to wait till the last minute and then hopefully swoop in and on StubHub get it cheap. No, this thing was sold out. I was looking at the thing, there's 3 seats left. Boom, I had to react. So I got my seat and I got it down fairly close. $90. It's a bit much, but whatever. Accept was good. Loved the show. Then I took a million pictures. Here's some pictures. Here's another picture. There you go. There's the pictures. But then KK finally came out. I did a review for Invincible Shield where I was comparing like them two together, and I thought it was a lot closer to me, my opinion, KK's Priest and Priest's new album. But a lot of people didn't agree with me on that. It was like, to me, I always follow the guitarist more than the singer, even though I love Rob Halford. He's like, what, my third or fourth favorite singer ever? Because we got Freddie Mercury in the mix, we got Dio in the mix. Then is it Ian Gillan, and then is it Rob Halford? I don't know. Where does Glenn Hughes come in, and where does David Coverdale come in? Where's my guy Tony Martin come in? They're all in the mix. But Rob Halford, he's at least he could be number 3. But Ripper, this dude is seriously underrated. I never saw a performance this good. I gotta edit this in because this is a thought I had. I was like, I can't let this thought go. Ripper's criticism I always heard was that he didn't have any charisma on stage. Nah, the dude was good. He was working the crowd. He was awesome. He was doing all the poses and stuff like that and rocking out with everybody. So forget all that. He picked up a few things in the past 25, 30 years. He's one of the top. I thought he was one of the top metal singers I think out there now. I'll say he's like the Andrew Garfield of metal singers. Like, he didn't have the best material to work with, but he knocked it out of the park. That's my thoughts on Ripper. Andrew Garfield, my favorite Spider-Man. Hitting the high notes every bit in the song. You didn't miss nothing. They did Before the Dawn, deep cut Priest, because they said, oh, we never got to play this live. I was like, oh, that's cool. And it was a quiet song. Everybody's clapping together and swaying and stuff like that. That ruled. A lot of the new stuff off the last 2 albums. A lot of people probably just, I wasn't, because they picked all the best songs off it. All the ones that were like the videos, all the ones that had me hyped up. All the few that I'd constantly like go back and listen to, they were on there. They dropped Victim of Changes off the set list because I was always like, I checked in the set list, but I didn't check up this tour's current set list. And I was like, oh, they're going to play Victim. No, they switched it up for Sinner. Boom. That was a bit of a surprise. One song I never liked on the album, Raise Your Fists. I always thought it was kind of cheesy. Was that on the second KK's Priest album? I thought it was cheesy. It Works Live. That was their closer. I like that one. Hellfire, Thunderbolt. Was that? I forgot if they opened with that one, but they did play that one. That was really good. That was one I was waiting for. They only played Burn in Hell from the Ripper era Judas Priest. I thought that was probably the highlight of the show. They had like all the big graphics in the back. Hopefully I took a picture of that. Let's see. Did I? I don't remember. But it was pretty damn good. Accept went on for about an hour. KK's Priest went on for about a little over an hour. So it was a good double bill. Except I was kind of like, all right, play balls to the wall. I can't wait to see KK's Priest. Then they finally, it was awesome. A small venue. Towards the last couple of songs, everybody got out of the seats and went like stood up by the stage in the little theater. So I got in real close, got to watch the last couple songs. As far as like the encore is like the worst fake out ever. We're supposed to think that, oh, they're not coming back. They all walked off the stage, the lights dimmed for like 5 seconds, the drummer's already back on his drum set, and then the lights came back on. They didn't even try to fake us out. So then they came back, and that's when they did Raised Your Fists. They did Breaking the Law was like the only big Priest song. Like Sinners, but that Sinners kind of a deep cut. Nightcrawler they also played, which is, it's not that deep of a cut, but you know, there was no like Living After Midnight or stuff like that. It was, and also like looking back at Accept, Wolf Hoffman was like the only original member in that band, and then I forgot his name, Mark Turnillo, which I've seen before. He was a really good singer. I knew him not from like listening to Accept, but he's always on Eddie Trunk. I think he was on a couple episodes of That Metal Show. He was really good too, but I'm thinking it's like, all right, you got one original guitarist and like a replacement singer. What did KK's Priest have? They get to be called Accept. This becomes... He could have called it Judas Priest if there wasn't Judas Priest still going. Because they only got Rob Halford, Ian Hill, and not the original drummer, but a classic drummer, Scott Travis. So, kind of equal with the weird ways that we can still call a band, the original band. I was just thinking about that when, you know, I'm in the throes of driving home after like a really awesome show. If he comes around your area, you gotta see it. You owe it to yourself. See K-Haze Priest. People. I don't think everybody loved the new albums. Like, I wouldn't even say the new albums were like 5 out of 5. I would give them like 3 out of 5. But live, they sold you the songs. So that was my thoughts on that. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Hopefully, I didn't run out of... this video is less than 15 minutes. What the first one was, I was clocking towards, and it still cut out the last 5 minutes. So, boom. Thank you.